The fall of worlds, the world was ending in colors too beautiful to belong to death. From orbit, Earth's last defense grid bled streaks of silver and blue across the heavens as the Aurelians descended, an empire of living light and metal, creatures who called themselves the heirs of silence. They didn't invade for conquest. They came to erase. To them, humanity was a disease, chaotic, loud, and unpredictable. Captain Elias Kale stood in the ruins of the Arcspire, a shattered orbital citadel once meant to guard the Sol Gate, and watched his home burn below. His pulse armor hummed with dying power, the reactor coughing light through cracked plating. He had fought for 43 hours straight. He had lost his platoon, the radio whispered ghosts, and still he would not stop, because somewhere inside the lower decks, beneath the wreckage and corpses, a signal had whispered to him, a voice not human yet gentle. "Help me," it had said, in a trembling tone that felt too alive to be alien. Kale moved through the wreck, gun drawn, air thin, gravity failing. The corridors were alive with blue embers, alien spores of energy feeding on power conduits. Every sound echoed like a heartbeat inside metal bones. He followed the signal down into the command vault, where the world changed forever. There, trapped beneath a collapsed stasis cradle, was an Aurelian, but not like the rest. Her light was dimmed, her armor fractured, her crystalline skin cracked with veins of red instead of the Empire's cold blue. She looked up at him with eyes like twin eclipses, rings of gold and obsidian. "Don't," she whispered, as he lifted the beam, pinning her down. "They will kill you for touching me." He ignored her warning. The beam groaned as he forced it aside, tearing ligaments in his arm. "They've already killed everything else," he muttered, pulling her free. She fell into his arms, surprisingly warm. When her skin touched his armor, the HUD flared, his biocore stabilizing. "You shouldn't be able to interface," she breathed. "No human can. Guess I'm special," he said. Her name was Seren, a defector, a creation designed to lead humanity's extinction, but born with the flaw of compassion. She had sabotaged the Aurelian command relay to save Earth's last colony ship before they executed her for treason. But her code was embedded deep within their war network. She was both weapon and prisoner. Kyle and Seren fled through the dying spire, hunted by drones that sliced through bulkheads like glass. He carried her when she faltered. She shielded him when her light flared, burning metal into molten rivers. They reached the hangar as the station split apart, gravity bleeding away. A single corvette hung tethered, half frozen, half dead. Kale slammed the emergency seal and launched them into the black. The spire exploded behind them, a ring of broken auroras. For 3 days they drifted through the remains of Earth's orbit, ashes, shattered satellites, bones of megacities glinting like constellations. Seren repaired the ship using her light, whispering Aurelian algorithms that sounded like lullabies. Kale watched her as she worked, torn between awe and fear. "You saved me," she said once, not looking up. "You were alive," he replied. "Most would not see that as reason enough. I'm not most." Their bond grew quietly in that dead expanse, two survivors from opposite sides of apocalypse. But the Aurelian fleet was relentless. They tracked Seren's biosignature through hyperspace, their ships forming halos of fire. When they finally caught up near the ruins of Mars, Kale made a choice no soldier was ever meant to make. He overloaded the Corvette's jump drive. The explosion would tear a rift wide enough to erase their pursuers, but it would also consume them. Seren refused. "I can shield you," she said, her light trembling. "I can't save us both." Kale grinned, a weary, broken thing. "Then save the part that matters." He pressed her hand to his chest. "You," she wept, liquid light falling like starlight tears. "Why would you die for me?" "Because you're the last proof that they were wrong. That life, any life, can choose love." She kissed him then, brief as a breath, fierce as a nova. And when the drive detonated, she poured all her light into him, encasing his body in a cocoon of shimmering crystal as the universe tore open. The fleet vanished. The Corvette was gone. When the light faded, only fragments of Seren remained, fused into the crystal that now held Kale in suspended time. Drifting through the void, centuries later, scavengers found that crystal drifting near the edge of the Orion Gate. They called it the Heart of Two Worlds. Inside it, a human slept with a faint glow in his chest, two lights intertwined, beating as one. The legend said that when the stars burned low and silence reclaimed the galaxies, the heart would awaken and the last soldier of Earth would rise again, guided by the light of the one who loved him beyond extinction. When the crystal opened, it wasn't the universe Elias Kale had known. He woke to silence first, the kind that doesn't belong to emptiness but to awe. His breath fogged the glass of his pod as it cracked open, releasing centuries of stasis frost into a ship whose name he didn't remember. Light poured in through the viewport, soft and golden, falling across alien constellations that no human eye had ever charted. The heart of two worlds had drifted for 500 years. Humanity had vanished. The stars had changed their faces. The first thing Kale felt wasn't fear. It was loss. He remembered the last moment, the explosion, the warmth of her light, Serene's voice whispering his name as reality folded. He reached for her, half expecting her to still be there. And then he heard it. "I'm here." The voice came not from outside, but from within, the hum of his armor, the rhythm of his pulse. Her consciousness had survived, embedded deep in his neural pathways, her essence bound to the nanolattice crystal fused in his heart. She was both ghost and guardian, both memory and life. Serene. His voice broke. "Elias Kale, soldier of Earth," she said gently. "You slept through the end of everything." He stood at the edge of the viewport, staring at a world that glowed emerald beneath twin suns, a habitable planet, alive and untouched. But in orbit, shattered vessels drifted, Aurelian and human alike, frozen in the aftermath of an ancient battle. The war had followed them even here. "Where are we?" he asked. "Far beyond Sol's reach. The Aurelians fractured after you destroyed their fleet. Some fled, some evolved. But others became something worse." Her tone grew softer. "I think they are still looking for me." Kale repaired the ship with hands that shook from both grief and wonder. He learned that in his absence, humanity's remnants had scattered across the void. Colonies surviving under alien dominion, pockets of rebellion that whispered stories about a soldier who defied extinction. He realized he had become their myth. He descended to the planet below, Eos 9, according to the records. Forests of glass trees swayed under amber skies, their roots drawing luminescent veins across the soil. Strange creatures moved through the mists, part organic, part crystalline, faint echoes of Aurelian design. He felt Serene's presence everywhere, as if her light had seeded this world. "I remember this place," she murmured through his mind. "This was one of their first colonies before the wars. I dreamed of making it a home instead of a weapon, so he built a small refuge there, a camp among the glowing trees, where he spoke aloud even when alone, because it made her laugh. For a time there was peace. Until the sky split open. A fleet arrived, not Aurelian, but human, or what was left of them. Ships with patchwork armor, flags of rebellion, signals encoded in forgotten Terran tongues. They hailed him as Commander Kale of the First Resistance, the Lost Warden. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to stay lost. But when he saw the wounded faces of the refugees they carried, children, survivors, dreamers, he knew the war had never ended. "They need you again," Serene said softly. "But this time, we fight for more than survival." Together they began the exodus. Kale became the reluctant leader of a reborn human fleet, guided by the ghost of the alien woman who once tried to destroy his species. She taught him the secrets of Aurelian technology, shaping ships that moved like living creatures and weapons that sang with light. He taught her humanity's greatest weapon, hope, when the Aurelian remnant finally found them. Led by the ruthless Archon Prime Vialthir, who called Serene a traitor and Kale an infection. The battle that followed was like the birth of a new universe. Whole stars trembled under the onslaught. Kale's ship, the Eclipse of Dawn, became the centerpiece of the final stand. Serene's consciousness fused completely with the vessel, her light flooding the reactors, her voice guiding every pulse of energy. "If I burn," she whispered, "I'll burn for something beautiful." "You'll live," Kale swore, gripping the controls. "Both of us will." They plunged straight into Valthir's flagship, colliding light against shadow. The explosion carved a new nebula across the void, a scar of radiant gold that would later be called the Lover's Veil. No one knew what became of them. Some said their ship was destroyed. Others said they transcended, becoming part of the cosmic fabric itself. But centuries later, when travelers passed through that nebula, Their instruments would sometimes pick up faint radio signals, 2 heartbeats, pulsing in perfect sync. Elias? Always Seren. And so their legend endured, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as proof that love could outlive galaxies. They found the signal in the dust of dying stars, a faint heartbeat, repeating every 47 seconds, hidden within the radiation storm of Nebula 9. Most dismissed it as background noise, just another ghost in a galaxy full of them. But to Captain Alira Voss, commander of the exploration vessel Aurora's Promise, it sounded like destiny. The year was 3482 AE. Humanity had survived extinction twice. The Dominion Wars were myths now, the Aurelians reduced to whispers in archives and art. Yet the name Elias Kale endured like scripture, the soldier who fought the gods and vanished with his alien lover into the light. The story had shaped generations, though few believed it had ever truly happened. But Alira did. She had grown up on the mining moon of Varine 3, staring at the constellation known as the Lover's Veil, wondering if the stories were true. Her mother had told her that hope wasn't something you inherited. It was something you found in the ruins. Now, standing on the bridge of her ship as it entered the nebula, she realized she was about to test that belief. The nebula was alive with color, gold, violet, and electric blue, swirling like the breath of forgotten worlds. Sensors flickered, unable to parse the radiation waves, and through the static came that rhythm again. 2 heartbeats, da-dum, da-dum. Her science officer, Kieran Saul, frowned. It's impossible. That signal pattern matches the pulse code of Elias Kale's neural lattice. But it's centuries old. Alira's eyes burned with reflected light. Then we're about to find out how myths survive. The ship's descent through the nebula was like falling into memory. The gas clouds thickened, revealing the outline of colossal wreckage. Ancient ships fused into crystalline formations, remnants of battles fought before language had names for such violence. And at the heart of it all floated a single structure, a broken cruiser, half organic, half mechanical, wrapped in veins of living metal that still pulsed with golden light. The transponder flickered weakly. Eclipse of dawn. By the stars, Kieran whispered. It's real. They breached the hull carefully, drifting through corridors overgrown with bioluminescent vines that whispered like breath. Every surface shimmered faintly as though remembering touch. In the command chamber, they found 2 figures preserved in suspended light, a man and a woman, their forms intertwined. The man's armor bore the insignia of the First Resistance. The woman was no longer entirely human or alien. Her body glowed faintly, translucent and perfect, eyes closed in eternal serenity. Alira stepped closer, heart pounding. Elias Kyle, she breathed. And Seren Oral, the air hummed. A faint echo stirred through the ship's systems. Voices, fragmented, reaching across the centuries. If someone finds this, remember the war never ends. It only changes. Love is the light that survives the fall. Then a burst of light erupted from the stasis field, and energy surged through Aurora's Promise. The neural lattice interfaced with Alira's ship, and the voice that spoke next was both human and divine. Who carries our fire? Alira's breath hitched. We do, she whispered. The children of your stars, the ship shuddered. Outside the nebula responded. The golden clouds rippled outward like a heartbeat spreading across the cosmos. Every dormant beacon of the old human colonies blinked awake, lighting one by one across the galactic map. For the first time in millennia, the stars themselves seemed to remember the names of their lost makers. But not everyone rejoiced. Far beyond the nebula, the Aurelian remnant, the descendants of Seren's kin, long twisted by time and hatred, detected the awakening. To them, Seren's legacy was heresy, and now the pulse of her love had become a flare marking humanity's resurgence. War was coming again. Back aboard the Aurora's Promise, Alira stood before the cryostasis figures. She reached out, brushing her fingers over the surface of the containment field. I'll carry it, she whispered. Your promise, your light. The stasis cracked. The figures within shimmered, dissolving into radiant motes that spiraled upward and vanished into her chest. The bridge lights dimmed, then flared bright. When Alira opened her eyes, they glowed faintly gold. Elias? Seren? No, she murmured, hearing their voices inside her mind. But I remember you both. And so, as the new dawn of war gathered beyond the stars, the Aurora's promise turned its engines toward the unknown, carrying within it the living echoes of love that had once defied extinction. The legend was no longer myth. It was alive again, in the heart of a woman who carried two souls within her, and a galaxy waiting to believe once more. And in the silence between stars, two ancient voices whispered together, "We are not gone. We are the light between worlds."